Okay, welcome Megumi-san to the Contrast podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And Fedor, you might want to introduce yourself first since I know her already.
Yeah, so my name is Fedor. I'm 20. I study in China right now, and I've been living here for like 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, basic information.
Okay.
A little bit. And what about you? Have you studied in China?
No, I never been to China.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was born in Japan, raised in Japan, and came to the US. Yeah, in my 30s, and it's been a while. I live in New Jersey, work as a recruiter, and I met Tarik at the Japanese English language exchange group meetup.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
When did you guys meet each other? When was that?
When was it? Maybe 2016 or 15?
Yeah, let me think, because it was around the time I started going back to community college. So that was, around 2016, so about 4 years ago.
Wow, interesting. So, how was his Japanese back then?
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't spoken. I haven't talked with him in Japanese for a while, but pretty good. He can speak English very fluently with perfect pronunciation.
Yeah. Wow, it's interesting.
Yeah, and also, Tarik, you speak Chinese and Korean, right?
Not Chinese. I was studying Korean and Chinese at that time, but they weren't even close as good as my Japanese.
Already?
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a question for you. So is it harder or is it more easier to learn Japanese than Korean and Chinese from your experience?
Yeah, I think Japanese, well, it's a mixture, right? Because Japanese has kanji, it has hiragana and katakana. So you have this alphabet kind of foundation to start as a learner. Whereas Korean has just an alphabet, Hangul, and those actual words which you can spell in their alphabet are based on kanji. So it's like a reverse. So if you know some like kanji or Chinese traditional characters and you know the meaning of it, when you translate it into Korean, it's easier to understand Korean. Whereas in Japanese, you want to learn the basic, hiragana, katakana first, and then you can understand kanji. So it was it's like a reverse that in that aspect. And then I would say Chinese absolutely is the hardest of those three because there's no alphabet. So as a American, an English speaker, trying to learn Chinese, you have to learn how to just memorize a lot of characters and a lot of there's a lot of like methods. People have like radicals, what they call, which is like on the left side you have one character or shape. And then on another side, you have the other one. And sometimes it's on the top, sometimes it's on the bottom. It's a lot of memorization. But I would say Japanese and Korean are kind of tied. And then Chinese is the hardest.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't. Yeah, I thought Japanese is the hardest. Maybe not.
Well, it all depends, right? So for some people, Japanese could be harder, right? And like for you, Fyodor, you speak Chinese primarily, and if you were to try to learn Japanese, maybe you would find that harder because you're already used to just memorizing the characters.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm just kind of curious about this pronunciation thing because as we all know, like learning a different foreign language always stops you at the level of reducing your accent, right? And as you just pointed out, that Tarik had at that time a good pronunciation. So, was it like an accent, or what was that?
You asking me?
No, no, no.
Oh, Megumi?
Megumi, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Can you say again?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. Yeah. So I basically said, back in the day, like 2016, like Tarik had a good pronunciation. So I'm just kind of curious whether was that an accent or maybe something else.
Well, I don't know why. Maybe Tarik should answer. Tarik, you have been working at the Japanese restaurant, and then all the time you spoke or you used Japanese, right? When you were working,
Right.
and he got a kind of environment. A lot of Japanese people are there, so that's why I think he picked it up very naturally, right?
Mm.
Well, yeah, I think it was a combination of things. For one, I have studied a little bit of linguistics, and I think if you're learning a language, any language, you should know something about linguistics, because linguistics helps you understand like what are the sounds that people make to create words and in all languages. And when you just get this basic understanding of like, okay, so in some languages there are the same sounds, and in others they're different, different sounds. And that's why some people have an easier time, like say if you're an English speaker learning Japanese as opposed to Arabic, because there may be a lot of similar sounds already. Mm-hmm. So when I learned those things in linguistics and I was learning Japanese, I realized, oh, okay, actually Japanese has almost all the same sounds we have in English. So if I just think about it in that way, that's like a good way to start. And then from there, from working with Japanese people constantly, I was able to pick up the more subtle sounds, how to pronounce it more clearly or properly, and not use like an American accent in my pronunciation.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, I got it. So I've been always kind of curious about Japan and its culture, and more importantly, I would say, since I came here, since I met a lot of people along the way in China, from different parts of the world, I realized that Chinese working culture isn't my cup of tea. It's just not for me. The way they work, the style of it is just I don't really like it. And I've been like kind of looking around, where can I go, and in Asia. So maybe you could, Megumi, explain to me or to us what is Japanese working culture? What is this environment all about?
Well, since I'm working as a recruiter, and I talk with a lot of candidates, job applicants, right? And some people are looking for a job only for a Japanese company, or some people wants to work for American or non-Japanese company, like a European company. And every time when I'm asked, I tell them the corporate culture is totally different. And then also Japanese has such a unique culture. And when it comes to the way of working or the way of thinking, I would say this is because of the structure itself is different. In America, if you get a job, you're given a job description, and your job responsibilities are this and this and that. But Japanese company, even though they make job description, but hidden job descriptions are there. And if nobody's, takes that responsibility, and if the Japanese people think, oh, nobody takes care of it, then this company might fail, or bad things happen in the future, and I have to take care of it. That's the way Japanese people think. And I'm not sure other countries' culture, but that's the one Japanese people do. Most Japanese people do. And also, Japanese people are very group oriented, and they value on harmony of the group. So if you join some company and you are requested or expected to be a great team player rather than just a superstar, and that's a big difference too, I think. Of course, gigantic, like a very huge company like a Microsoft or Apple or Google, they want someone really talented and gives you an idea of super hit products. But and then if the American company gives you all the credit and it gives you $1 million or dollars money for your pay, but Japanese company don't do that. They, even though just one talent created or find very super hit products, it's considered kind of teamwork, and he or she might get the big bonus, but still not that much as much as American or European company do. So that's a difference too. So
interesting.
Yeah.
What about also age? How does age factor into Japanese companies? I mean, like the age of the workers.
Japanese all the time, Japanese people believe lifetime employment, right? Once you join one company, they believe they're gonna work all their lives at the one company. That's the way, like 300 years ago. But now, Japanese adopted a lot of, non-Japanese, the way of doing things from America, So that's why lifetime employment is kind of disappearing now. And then Japanese people change their job very frequently. Not as frequently as much, as American people, but still Japanese, mindset is changing. But still, what was that? What's your question? I forgot.
Like the age group, like for instance, how are younger workers treated as opposed to older workers?
Now, this era is dramatically changing the worldwide, not only Japan. And I find some people in their trainees, they are like an alien. They have totally different idea than my generation or like a 40ish or 50ish people. Some are not obedient anymore. In my generation, once you join the company, you have to obey. And you have to do everything from cleaning the toilet, to do everything. Or, serving tea for your boss. That's the way Japan was when I was 20ish. but not anymore. So very much like a norm of working environment has been changing. But age thing is like a pyramid. And how do you say, seniority system, nenkojoretsu? That the more older or senior you are, you get higher pay. And the younger you are, then you get pay less, but it has been changing a little bit because, very much talented young people, like let's say they don't want to obey or they don't want to join the company and they just start YouTube and you becomes YouTuber and then they make a tons of money. So the structure of society has been changing, is changing. Not only in Japan, but it happens in the world at the same time. But
right. It's interesting though. I've found like, I've worked for one Japanese company that was like, I would say like a big one. And when I was there, I noticed that there was some kind of changes, but there was still a feel of like the old culture. And maybe that's because of just the company I was working for. It is a very like old company, but the feeling was like young people should like figure everything out for themselves. And like even if you ask questions, you can't ask it too many times, right? Because then it's like
it's called in Japanese sontaku. Have you heard of this word?
Sontaku.
Sontaku is you have to, just like you said, you have to know what is expected to do, even though no information is given to you. You have to figure out what I'm supposed to do and to help people surrounding you, and you have to contribute to the team, although no information is given. That's the way Japanese people do it. Yeah, totally understand. And I think Japanese people are non-verbal communications are very much they're doing. Yeah, you have to sense with maybe sixth sense, without speaking out, without verbal communication. You have to figure out what your boss want you to do. That's hard part. But
yeah, I found that so challenging when I was there. I was trying my hardest, that was like my first job out of college. And I kind of got it really luckily because I was just like applying online to different places. And then a recruiter like yourself just sent me a message and said, "Oh, we saw your resume. It looks like you would be a good candidate for this company." So I just got that. When I got that job, I was like, I gotta do really well, and I really wanted to become successful from that job. But yeah, it didn't work out in the end. I'm not really sure exactly why. And as I like look back at it, there were some mistakes I made for sure, and I just felt really down about it. I wouldn't say depressed, but I was like really disappointed in myself because I just felt like I should have known, as someone who's like studied a lot.
Yeah, you should have called me.
Yeah, I should have. I made a lot of mistakes at that time. I was very naive, I could say.
I always tell applicants when I send, after making placements and then before they start working there at the, first week or second week, I call them and how's it going? And if you're in trouble, like getting along with the team or a boss, or you're gonna ask them. But probably it depends on how to approach to the job or role. It depends on the boss's personality. If he or she doesn't want you to ask too often, too many questions, then you have to find someone else to teach you or to mentor you or to take care of you, and how do you say, load,
Yeah.
and in the environment, culture, and unspoken rule are there definitely, but it varies, depends on the environment or company or team.
Uh,
Right.
Unspoken rules. Interesting.
Unspoken rules are existing.
That sounds like completely Chinese to me because they're yeah. But
It's
this unspoken rules,
Asian culture. Yeah.
Asian culture.
But
Interesting.
someone like me, I really enjoy taking care of people, and I really like to teach or show them how to do that, and that's why I've been enjoying working as a recruiter maybe, and I've even started teaching elementary school as a part timer now. Japanese school. Yeah, I'm teaching Japanese for fifth grade right now. But anyway. If you find someone like me, personality, like to teach or like to take care of people, then you'll be saved, because and a certain like one people in a group, you definitely can find someone like me.
Yeah. I want to say before we ask any more questions, because I know, Fedor, you have a lot of questions probably, but while I was studying Japanese, I would say out of those three East Asian languages, Japanese people were the most helpful in learning the language. I've always, no matter where I was trying to learn it, when I was in New York or when I met Megumi-san, there was always someone who was so encouraging to me to learn and willing to help me, willing to spend time to talk with me, and that's what kept me going, as opposed to the other two where I kind of ended up stopping. I always had Japanese friends who were looking out for me. So, I mean, in that particular job, I think that was probably the one Japanese experience where I didn't have someone like that. So it was.
Wow.
It was
Compliment. Thank you.
But yeah,
it's interesting. Japanese seems to me as a foreign friendly language, and I want to kind of shift this conversation to the point that I want to ask, but what about foreign policies of Japan? Why don't you guys allow many foreign workers to get a residency and work and live in Japan permanently?
In Japan?
Could you explain this? Because it seems like it's easier to learn Japanese, but at the same time, it's almost impossible to settle down there in the country. So why is that?
Well, I have been in the U.S. more than 20 years, and I'm not perfectly sure about Japanese foreign policy. But recently I find that so many foreigners, non-Japanese people speak Japanese perfectly, very fluently, and then they even have a YouTube program on themselves and speaking in Japanese. And it's amazing. And they live in Japan. It seems like they have a permanent resident status. And I think some sort of Japanese government have allowing foreigners who's interested in living in Japan, permitting, giving the permit to live.
Yeah, interesting. I got it.
So I want to ask, have you gone back to Japan at all recently? We can
Not really. The last time when I was there was 2 years ago. Yeah. And I was supposed to go back this year, but because of COVID-19, I cannot, I haven't done it yet.
And like, how do you still keep a connection if you do at all? Do you have some connection still back there with maybe your family?
Yeah, of course. We have social media, SNS, Line, or Messenger, or, like a Zoom, Skype.
Yeah.
So maybe could you tell us, I mean, I don't know, I'm just curious if you know what's going on over there, maybe not necessarily politically, but maybe some cultural movements or some issues people are talking about.
Oh, well, that's gonna be a serious talk. if once I started speaking about politics, but LDP or Jiminto, LDP, it's a long, term they are running their, political party, but it seems like people are not happy.
That is Shinzo Abe's party, right?
Oh yeah, Shinzo Abe's party, and because they are increasing taxes all the time, and even though this, COVID-19, some Japanese how to say like the professors or other economists or very well-known commentator, they all say because of COVID-19, so many companies might go, going bankrupt. So that's why, in order to avoid that failure, or it's Japan's failure, they said we should no tax or consumption tax. Yeah, but still, it seems like Shinzo Abe keeps going, and as it is, and even they are thinking, raising taxes more. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
One thing I've heard.
I'm happy.
Yeah, one thing I've heard recently is about some like women's issues. I heard that there's a lot of women who want more ability or not ability, but responsibility or like equal treatment in the workforce. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Fedor, you asked me about the Japan culture and the women's presence. It's also very interesting compared as opposed to the one in America. I think most American women wants to have equality, right? And in a working environment, and then want to get promoted just like other, men, gentlemen, guys. But some Japanese women too, was some of them are not interested in working, and they consider housewives is also a very precious job, because if your husband brings money, but there are sort of very important job in the house, cooking or cleaning or raising children, and these are also a very important job. That's what they think, and they are so proud of doing that. That's a different big, I think. And also husbands or men's respect what their wives do, and that's a different culture, I think.
Yeah, interesting. To me, I feel a little bit disappointment in terms of like Japanese culture might surprise me. That's what I thought. But it turns out to be that a lot of patterns
are similar compared to China. You know, it's like brothers. And
what is similarity? What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
You mean similarities? Just what you just described? You know, housewife, and I think it's pretty common in China.
Mm-hmm.
You know, although a lot of women are working, helping their families, but in terms of like China is getting richer, so a lot of men can afford. And it's not just in China; it's everywhere. If your man can afford, can sustain your family only by himself, then yeah, you can take care of your of kids, family, you know. But me personally, if you're talking about this specifically, I think that a woman should work, and we should work together because this work environment and work itself shapes your mindset. It's my point. It's the probably one of the most important thing in life, your work. And that's why you have to pick it carefully. You know, you have to really scrutinize it and just develop your career based on that. But yeah, I mean, Asian, as we're talking about Japan and China and its comparison, I would say that yeah, just a lot of common points, you know, similarities.
Okay, Fedor,
And
your background. You're from Russia?
yeah, I'm from Moscow, from Russia.
Raised in Moscow?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was born in a small town in Russia.
Oh, okay.
But then, like at the age of 3, my mom brought me to Moscow. Yeah,
Moscow.
and since then,
And in your country, both men and women work. And how do you raise your children, or how do you do with housewife like chores? Men also cook and clean the room, or everything is half and half.
so first of all, as I understood your question. So first of all, as I pointed out before, that if your family income can if it's big, if it's enough, then a woman in the house can stay at home, you know. But
Okay.
if you have to, like, if you're like paying a mortgage or something, then yeah, both of the parent have to work, you know. I think it's a common thing, you know. And speaking of sharing these responsibilities within the family, I would say that yes, man cook, man washes dishes, you know, and it's like in my family, for example, and my mom, she doesn't. She's gonna watch this podcast, I guess. She doesn't do any dishes, and you know, my father does. So yeah, equality. You can see. You know, she doesn't work. She doesn't have a job, and she's just looking after kids, the house.
Oh.
So that's my situation. But if you're talking about like a common thing, then yeah, both parents are working, you know, and trying to, you know, separate their like home obligations, small obligations, such as like, yeah, sweeping the floor and stuff. Then yeah, it's a common thing, you know. There is no that harsh of a patriarchy.
Well, in Japan, if you cannot afford it, well, if one person's income is not good enough, and the other one has to work. Okay, Fedor, I have a question for you. Why China?
Simple answer. Back in the day, like I would say, like when 2013, my mom and my father, both of them are started looking for an opportunity. When can their son study abroad? So America was expensive. It is still. Europe too. So yeah, China is rising. And that's how I ended up being in China. So it was just like my parents' decision, because in retrospect, as I look back at it, all of it, I feel like I'm suffering because of my wrong decision. Whether it's my major that I'm currently studying, or just being in this country. Yeah. So it's just it wasn't like a thought through decision. I heavily relied on my parents back then. So yeah.
I really want you to go to Japan too. You're very
But I get the sense that it's gonna be the same as in China, especially in to go to
It's totally different.
I completely disagree.
Totally
Interesting.
different.
All right, you can talk about it. So first of all, go there to do what? My first question, and the answer is like, probably working, because that's how I can sustain my life. And Japanese work culture, as we discussed earlier, yeah, it's not as pleasable. It's not as something that has some special or like a completely different side than China. To live there, well, I don't know. I don't know enough. But why are you guys saying it's different? And why do you recommend me to visit Japan?
You want to go first, Megumi-san?
Tarik, you first.
Okay, I'll go first. All right. So the first statement, why is it different? All right, yeah, actually they're very different. In terms of people's interaction, first of all, even just like the government structure, Japan is a democracy and China's a communist state. So that's already, you can see, right? In China, you don't have free speech. In Japan, you do. That's first. Second, the people and like the way people interact is completely different. In China, there is a weird dynamic of like this kind of, I wouldn't say like brash is the right word, but there is sometimes a lack of respect for one another, whereas Japan is completely the opposite. Japanese people are so respectful to each other, all the time. So on that level, it's different. Even right for and learning environment. In China, my experience was like nobody really cares if you're gonna learn or not. They're just like gonna just say what they have to do, and then that's it. It's up to you to figure it out. But in Japan, there's a big teaching culture. Like anything you need to know how to do, somebody's gonna tell you. They're gonna help you do it. When you get off the train, like off the airplane, when you first get to Japan, there's gonna be somebody directing you constantly. Like, oh, how do I get this? Someone will explain it to you. Oh, how do I get there? Even just the people on the street. If you don't know where to go, they will show you how to get there. No problem. They might even take you there personally. So there's a very welcoming culture in Japan, whereas in China it's not the case.
Interesting. Yeah, I get a more taste right now. And what can you say, Megumi, about yeah, why do you recommend me visit Japan?
Average Japanese people are very honest. They don't lie. And very ethical, very strong moral, and strong responsibility for everything. That's a big difference. Yeah, Tarik, thank you so much. The what you said, I really like that and respect
Well,
that.
That's
Yeah.
been my experience. So that's all I'm saying is the truth of my experience. So, whether, because everybody has different experiences. There might be somebody else who had a different experience in Japan, and I can't say that their experience is not true or something. So I can only speak from my experience. And yeah, just my experience. I'd never really had any harsh treatment from Japanese people. It's always been welcoming, encouraging. So that's why I always give credit. And I learned so much from my journey into that culture and like figuring out where I fit there and where I don't, right? Because not everything in Japan was like perfectly fit for me. There are some things that are different about it. But I could say, for instance, I've talked about this to a lot of people, but I got a very big understanding of patience and like honor from Japan, something I didn't have before I started studying and before I went there. So those two things I added to my own personality, and I value them so much in my everyday life.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. So yeah, as we're go back to your occupation, I'm super curious about that too. And like, do you work directly with foreigners, not Chinese people, or primarily foreigners, and like a small percentage of Japanese who want to work in a foreign company or like in Japanese company? So who are you dealing with basically,
My job,
Megumi? Yeah.
I deal with HR people and job seekers. I'm a
Wow.
matchmaker. If the company has a job opening, then I try to fill the position by sending qualified candidates. And before sending them, I screen them and interview them. And, only qualified
Yeah.
I can submit. Otherwise, I cannot make a placement. Yeah, that's what I do.
Interesting. It's very interesting to me. So let's talk about the candidates and how can I become a candidate? How what should I prepare?
If you send me your resume, you become a candidate.
Yeah.
Just register with our from website, or you can email me. And if I can find something that matches your background, you may be a fit, then I introduce you to the company. That's what I do.
So you're basically working with people resumes, screening them. So it's your like HR. It's all related to people, right? You are constantly in this
Yeah.
communication process. So why did you choose this occupation? Why was that?
Before, I was in the sales marketing field in Japan. And after I came to the US, still I was working for like the educational institution, but it wasn't not exactly a teacher, but I was more like an administrative assistant.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something that I can make a difference. Then I went to an agency and to register to ask them to find me another job. Then I realized that, I want to work here. Then I talked to the CEO. Can you hire me? That's what I said. And then she hired me. That's how I started as a recruiter.
Interesting. Can you hire me? Yeah, that's a very interesting. It's a very interesting question.
I saw myself very enthusiastic, very passionate. The way.
Yeah.
I told her how I'm good at sales and how I'm good at with people, communicating with people, sort of thing. And I told her, although I'm very good at in sales, selling something, selling products, selling people, but my English skills is not good enough. That's the problem, but it will improve it. I can cover it. Then she said, okay. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. So, yeah.
I was
ahead.
going to say, and is that also why you started the meetup group? Because when I was like looking for people to talk to, I didn't find that many. Well, there were some Japanese groups like in New York, but I didn't find many that were actually hosted by a Japanese person. So it was very unique to find your meetup group. How did you decide
that,
to?
That time might be unique. Not many Japanese people were running their own meetup. Yeah, that's why I wanted to do something. My group, my team. Yeah, meetup.
Yeah.
Because I really in New York, New Jersey, this area, so many Japanese people are here, and easy to get together only with Japanese people and eating Japanese food and speaking in Japanese. And there's no point in living in the US, in America, and not using English. So that's why I really wanted to make friends with, native English speaker. And that's how I came up the idea, creating my meetup, language meetup. And I'm glad that I did. Yeah, that time it helped me a lot.
Wow, interesting.
Skills and was very interesting to exchanging not only language but culture thing. I was able to ask any questions, and people were very helpful, including Tarik, you too.
Interesting. It was a courageous move of yours, because not that many people can actually commit themselves to this. I would call it small project, like such as opening a group and meeting ups with cultural and language exchange in mind and purpose. So it's a very 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 good. And I want to ask this question, because we all seen this around the world, we're gonna bring America, for example. Like a lot of Asian communities are living this way, just hanging out with Japanese or Korean Chinese only. No yeah, and what I think personally that's because people don't want to step out of their comfort zone, right?
Right.
And just but it was never the case for me, actually. I always wanted to learn something new, and in fact that's probably the difference in our culture, me and you, Megumi, is that I think that my community is not worth my time spending with them. That's the difference. I always try to stay away from my community, whether I'm in China or in Bangladesh, everywhere. Wow. So it's a big difference, and I guess this is more like Asian style, of behaving, this like group connected. But at the same time, we were communists back in the day, and we also have this strong group feelings, but probably our education is different than we just see it differently. And to me, it became obvious that like a lot of people, like especially Asians, primarily are just hanging out with them, like they're like people from their country. So it's just less tension, less like friction creates, But to me, it was never the case. So what do you think? Should we promote this idea of interchange and I'm not saying force people, but what should we do instead? I don't see a way how can we cultivate this idea of intertwining between each other, American, Japanese, let's talk, because it's a very hard for some people, for most people, to actually connect with somebody who is completely different. So how can we solve this problem? Because I think it's a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe just like you don't have any war between people from different background, right?
Yeah.
That is really, really nice trait you have. Just like you said, people are afraid, stepping out of, their comfort zone. And maybe they are chicken or not open-minded. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey,
Interesting. What, I have a small question. What do you like? What are the traits you like about American culture and American people?
American people, I respect them a lot. They are very fair. I'm talking about good American people.
That's right, because we have a lot of bad ones too.
Good American people, I really admire them. They are very fair, very respectful, and they're smart, and they like to talk a lot. They are talkative, and that is good. And very, strong communicator, and also they have very faithful, and yeah, I bring this example. One of my friends, she got married, and she is in her 70s, and her new husband was 80s.
Wow.
70s and 80s got married, and
Wow.
and then before they got married, her husband was very popular among women, and one of his he was running his study group just like meetup, and then one member, she really liked him, and because she liked him, she was watching him, how he is doing, and she found him. He was watching my friend all the time. So, and then eventually this, two people got married. So that's why she kind of, broken heart. But when they got married, she came to my friend saying, you know what? I also liked him, and he really loves you, and I'm really happy for you, and I give you him. I give you. I'm not. I'm not taking him from you anymore. I totally lost. I lost from this competition. That's what she did, and I thought, oh, this is American culture, and this is so fair and so honest and so open conversation, open-minded, and I thought maybe not so many Japanese people can do this.
Interesting. Yeah. Not so many Japanese people can do this. So basically, talk freely, talk openly, approach a problem with this open mindedness. Interesting. Yeah.
So I have a question. So when you first came here, you how much did you know about the differences in American versus Japanese? Did you think that there was going to be, or I guess, what surprised you? Was there something that surprised you?
Surprised me? Okay, first of all, I had to take a driver's license, DMV, and it's not organized, and it's not on time. and then the train always late, not on time, or as opposed to Japan. Japan's train comes on time,
Yeah.
all the time. And then also the telephone or like electricity or everything like a utility or internet, it takes forever, and when
Yeah.
you got in trouble, you have to solve the problem and you have to wait online, and they put me in wait line and like 1 hour or 2 hours, whatever. And but as opposed to Japan, Japan is so punctual about that and very, very meticulous, very accurate, and very nice customer service. Customer service level is superior in Japan.
Yeah.
So always, I never had any problem with that.
Yeah, I just want to say that's another difference between China and Japan, for sure. Customer service.
Yeah, customer service. They're smiling and they're so welcoming and they're so kind, Well, anyway, and then once you settled your life, in the US, then everything goes smoothly. But once you get in trouble, there is very much trouble in this country, And also, just like I brought up my friends, marriage, story. People are very open-minded, and I really like that, and very friendly, and very, how do you say, fun. They're fun lovers. Yeah, that's good too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
are you saying that Japanese people are less fun-loving? What are you saying?
Well, Japanese people also fun lover, but more like reserved or different way. They're a lot quiet compared with American people.
Mm.
So I don't know.
Interesting.
So
Well,
another
to me-
question I have, sorry, but I want to ask. So like one thing I noticed when I left New York, right, was how diverse New York is. It like, I always kind of took this for granted. I just, as a person who grew up there, I assumed that everywhere in the world must be kind of like this, all kinds of people from everywhere talking. So what I want to ask you is, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a positive aspect of New York? And if you do you think that more countries should try to copy it?
Well, yes. American people's good points. Every other country should copy it. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, because in America, right, we have like Spanish people, we have Japanese, Chinese, Brazilian, all kinds. Yeah, living together. Do you think that other countries should like start to model themselves, or?
I'm not sure if Japan can do that like in New York. I'm not sure.
Why?
Well, because Japanese people cannot speak English. Because of, English is the world language. That's why such a diversity city are, possible. But most Japanese people don't speak English. Then, so that's why some people fall in love in Japan, living in Japan, they wanna live in Japan forever. They learn English, not English, Japanese, and they became a fluent Japanese speaker. And I've seen it. A lot of people do that way.
So you think if more, let's say for example, if a lot of people from different countries started learning Japanese and then moved to Japan, that eventually it could look like New York, just like a Japanese version.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah, and I think getting it. Tokyo is kind of close to New York, because you can have world dishes in Tokyo. there's no dish you cannot eat in Tokyo. Maybe you can have Indian food, Thai food, American, Italian, French, everything.
Russian?
Russian too, yeah. So many Russian people there. You didn't know?
Interesting.
I don't know. Well, actually, I do know. Actually, Japan is actually becoming really popular in Russia as well as Korea. Japan and Korea.
Russian is right next door, next country, and so many Russian people come to Japan and they started living there. Some people fall in love in Japanese culture or Japan, I don't know. I sent you some Russian girls YouTube, you guys. Please
Yeah,
watch
sure.
it. She speaks fluent Japanese and targeting audience is Japanese people, and she's so popular. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. I'm amazed. Yeah, surprised. So many non-Japanese people speak just like us, and a YouTuber. I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So there are like a lot of common sounds in Japanese that a lot of like many foreigners can mimic, not like, let's say, English, where both of us, Megumi, can pronounce TH sound, because we
Right.
don't have this sound in our language.
So many words I can pronounce it still, TH or,
An R, yeah, exactly.
our problem. Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess in Chinese the difference and the primary factor would be just a lot like four tones, as we were talking about Mandarin. We have to say it in a right way. So, for example, yesterday I had this conversation, and I'm quoting myself: "You should have a reason to do something." And not necessarily philosophical. And philosophical, it's 哲学 in Chinese, but I would say like 哲学. And they were like, all right, what is that? 哲学, what? Like philosophical. 哲学, and to me it was like, yo, how many words are like I pronounce incorrectly, It's like, if I'm gonna go on this rant talking about like my life story or having a podcast, there would be a lot of what? What did you say? This kind of awkward time where like a person cannot get it, can't just understand what I'm trying to say, some words. So yeah, but it's not like everywhere though in China. For example, I've heard that in Chongqing, it's like west side, like all the way. It's more like people are talking in one tone. There is no like strong definition. Like you have to really obey the third. It, right? Chinese has four tones. Mandarin, Megumi.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. So probably my region, like or like Shanghai, Hangzhou, it's more like that. Yeah, but might be another experience, waiting for me. So yeah, I should check that out. But interested in Japanese language. Yeah, it's relatively easy to learn. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
Means you can speak Japanese too.
Yeah, interesting. But so what about how do Japanese people feel about like their past, let's say this tensions with China, Second World War? Do you know anything about it? And are you interested in history that much?
Yeah, some point, yeah.
Yeah. Do Japanese people, I don't know, feel guilty or feel proud of their history? What is the relationship with history in Japanese society?
Relationship between Japan and what?
and their history, the country's history.
Well, there are some problem our country, especially for education, about our past history. They are not teaching true the fact, and very wrong things are included in the textbook of elementary school or junior or senior high school. Especially, I don't know, when I was an elementary school student or junior high, I remember that we learned very old ancient times only. Asian until like a Edo period, Edo era, Edo jidai.
Yeah.
But in the modern era, we didn't learn. And it was prohibited teaching students or kids the true thing. It was controversial, a lot of controversial, because of the, Japan lost World War II, and the GHQ from America came to Japan, and they shut down all the the true story, and then they kind of created the different thing. Kind of, I think it's
Americans did it, right?
well, American did, but recently the discoveries or that times like Franklin Roosevelt's administration was manipulated by other country.
Interesting.
And so things are more complicated. So I used to think, because of GHQ, because of GHQ. If negative things, I found it, because of GHQ. But recently I changed my mind, or, I changed the way of thinking. GHQ is also manipulated by other people, other culture, other country. So
Interesting. Yeah, and I have another question, and it's gonna be about religion, like the spiritual practices, because we talked actually yesterday with Tarik about it, and I tried to understand this concept of time, So yeah, if like because it's so like you mentioned it, Japanese people are so punctual, right? Gotta be on time. And you probably see time differently then compared to, let's say, Americans, where they can put you on the waiting line for 2 hours. And why Japanese people are like that in terms of like being punctual? Maybe you guys have some different perspectives on time. Yeah, how do you see time? This concept, of time.
well, it comes from especially a working environment, workplace. Japanese people are very punctual. If it's just a casual, dating or casual gathering with, friends, then they might be late, 5-10 minutes. It's not always punctual, and it depends on the person. But it comes from mostly very strict, like Edo period, like a Hokkien Seido, or how do you say, strong responsibility, or it's just expected to be there on time. That's the cultural norm, I think.
Yeah, cultural norm. Interesting. Because
I want to add something because in my studies, one of my favorite like Japanese philosophy books is the Book of Five Rings, and this is written by Miyamoto Musashi. And in reading his book, and he's basically talking about the essence of the warrior, and I think this has like a deep connection in Japanese culture, which has come down even to the modern time, is like the idea of perfect timing and perfect strategy is discussed heavily in his book. And what he's trying to explain to people is like there is exactly a moment that you need to know something or do something. And this moment could be like life or death. And so I think that might be kind of where this comes from, And Japanese people, from what I've seen, are very, you could say exact, like even in baseball, right? That's like another kind of extension where you see this.
Yeah.
That's why Japanese people love baseball, because you have to hit the ball right at the perfect exact moment. So there is like that kind of strong connection. This, I think it comes from that kind of warrior spirit, because that was a big period in Japan's history. There was the Sengoku Jidai.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that probably plays a big role too.
Oh yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. And also Bushido.
Bushido. Yeah, it's a brand of coffee in Russia. Bushido. Interesting. Yeah.
And we also have Shiseido. Shiseido is the makeup brand.
Wow. But so now I want to just kind of ask about Megumi, your personal philosophy. Like, for example, as we talked yesterday about this time concept, and initially I was trying to debate this, like, life is pointless because we are like just small dots in this universe, and eventually everything will be forgotten, and you're gonna die anyway. So and Tarik told me that you see this in a wrong way, in a like backside of a coin, but you actually have this opportunity, this ability to choose what to do with this time, how to utilize it. And I want to ask you this question: how do you see this life in terms of like minutes and seconds, and how do you have like some your personal philosophical concepts that you try to stand?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah.
Okay, I consider this life is like a boot camp, and in order to polish our soul, or in order to experience various things, and so enjoy all the experience, including bad experience and negative experience, but everything comes to you, and it polishes your soul, and you're gonna be a more fulfilled. And then even if you die, you still live with your soul. Soul is around here, and you just like you how do you say? Take out your clothes. You take out your physical body when you die. And your soul remains. That's yourself. And you go back to where you used to be, or the other world, or heaven. And it's connected. Your higher self is connected with you. And then you go back to where your higher self is. That's what I believe.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, and I also would like to segue, because this is kind of perfect time.
Segue.
So Megumi-san, you were involved with a kind of religious group called Happy Science. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, actually, I no longer a member of Happy Science.
Oh, okay.
I left there because recently, well, maybe 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I found like a little bit the way of their running their organization is skeptical and doubtful and more like still I'm grateful that I learned a lot of things from that organization or very basic foundation of of concept, basic learning.
Like a spiritual guidance.
Spiritual guidance, yeah, I learned a lot. Just like you read the Lord of the Sun, right? Yeah. In that book, I learned a lot. But now I feel like I can practice my spirituality by myself. Or a lot of people are more awakening, and so many spiritual YouTuber are existing. And then when I'm watching, their YouTube programs, I can get more very practical or very inspiration I can get. So I don't have to be there anymore, and so I'm happy now. Watching YouTube, some of them. And also, I really recommend you to watch, what is that? Cosmic Secret.
Cosmic Secrets.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard about it. Interesting.
David Wilcock's film. It's a documentary movie. And that is this, you can learn or you can know a lot of true story of this world, how this world is created. Above majestic, and the cosmic secret. I'll send you the link.
The link. Interesting.
Yeah, so I can learn a lot of things through various YouTubers and various spiritual leaders in the world now. Not only Japanese people, also. Not only Japanese people.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak a little bit about, my personal journey too. I have explored a lot of like different religious and spiritual guidances in my travels. So, I could say like I was involved with Happy Science too for some time, when we were together and I was reading the books and stuff. And I know I have friends who were as a part of that church. So I try to take the good parts of everything, like every spiritual community, and also add it to myself too. So like, I've been in Buddhist temples, I've been in Christian church, Muslim mosque. So I think the best way for people to figure out their own journey is they should at least get a small taste of each one, just get some exposure to it so that they can decide, okay, yeah, this one I like for this part, or I like this morals from this one. And I think everybody should eventually create their own, because I would say that a lot of these religions are so old, so they have like a very old way of thinking of things, and society has just changed so much recently. So a lot of those old like wisdoms, they still work, but the way to practice them it doesn't work as much, in my opinion, the like worshiping and constant praying. But it's not like I'm saying that no one should do it. If you feel like that's what you want to do, then that's good for you,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Recently I went to a Christian church, and I learned a lot too. So not only Happy Science is more like a Buddhism based, and now I learned a lot from Christianity also. But
interesting. So you kind of sympathize Christianity more than Buddhism or Islam or any other religions exist, right?
Well, I
And
think all religions, they're just different way of doing or way of approaching to yourself. You know, we are connected with God. Everyone is connected with God, and we are all oneness, and that's what spiritual leaders are saying. And I never experienced oneness by myself yet, but I really believe that. So,
interesting.
right. So,
Yeah, I
because
feel like yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
of religion, the fighting each other is really pointless. You know, they shouldn't do that.
Yeah. We are all trying to find some answers, some explanations, how to live this life, you know, as some sort of a belief. And to me personally, I like, it's questionable, right? God, source, true. To me, it's like I'm more into experimental part of it. You know, I have to, like, I get my wisdom and my beliefs rather, from people around me. You know, I have to talk it out or talk it over to just get some new perspectives, information. You know, and you know, that's what that dialogue, or like rather a conversation that we're having right now, that's some sort of a religion to me, because in this part I can find some truth, you know, I can find some happiness and explanation to my own problems, you know, to how I should live this life. So, you know, and it has nothing to do with God, to this regard, you know, because we're having like three of us. Probably you can say it was predetermined, or as a religious person would say it, or rather like God guiding us how to talk or something. But to me, it's more like we're talking, we right now. And to me, it's like, yeah, the most spiritual ritual, you know, that I can have on this planet is talking. Yeah, so this is my religion. Small taste of it.
The contrast religion. All right.
Yeah, damn, dude. I hope that YouTube would not consider us as a cult, you know. it's gotta be a cult, yeah.
No, we're not a cult. You know, don't worship me, don't worship Fedor, you know. Please watch our podcast, and don't forget to like and subscribe, you know. First time I said that, first and last.
Yeah, give us
Like a UFO or alien. Recently, American Trump administration announced that there are certain aliens are existing, right?
Aryan?
Yeah, alien. I mean, how do you say? Not people living in human being in Earth. Other like
aliens.
alien.
I got it. Yeah, that's right. There was evidence that was released of like UFOs.
Yeah.
That came out. That's right. And a lot of people are very interested in that. I myself, I was trying to convince Fyodor to check it out. He wasn't that interested, or we talked about it for a little while, but yeah, I think that would completely change a lot of people's religious perspectives, because that's something that I guess we haven't really seen discussed in a lot of these older religions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you believe, Megumi, that aliens exist? Do you believe in aliens?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
A lot of kinds of aliens are existing, not only us in this universe.
Do you think that aliens among us, humans, like they exist in Japan, in Moscow?
And like dinosaur type, or you know, like libertarian type, and whatever, various. tons. Mhm.
I have a small theory also. I just have this idea that because I've seen some videos of like fish and deep in the ocean, like deep, where there's no light. I just have this feeling that those are aliens. Those are real aliens. That they fell from space and they landed in the water and just fell deep down. And that's why they're able to survive with no light. That's the strangest kind of creature. You know, we have seen, you know, everything we know needs some form of light to exist, except for those ones. So yeah, I think they're aliens. You know.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a lot of Japanese posters in my room, like sort of like demons, fish, and yeah.
Oh,
fat people
I
sumo.
love Japanese mythology. Oh, that's so cool stuff. You know, like
Yeah.
what's the name? I had this book once. Maybe I didn't own it, but somebody showed me a book of like all the demons that Japanese people have like wrote about.
Demons?
Yeah, like yokai,
Yokai? Oh, yeah.
妖怪的なこと。
ゲゲゲの鬼太郎
そう、なんて、女の子、顔がないということかな。
なんだっけ、それ。うん。ちょっと思い出せないけど。
僕も思い出せない。
How do you start this for speaking in Japanese?
No, it's cool, you know, because finally Tarik is speaking it sober, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time for me, you know. I haven't spoken Japanese in like a year or probably longer than a year. Well, yeah, the last time I was in China, that was like pretty much the last time I was speaking Japanese. But I miss it, you know. I miss my Japanese community a lot, actually.
Okay, Tarik, we should have a meetup, like a between you and me.
Sure, you know. Yeah, so you live nearby, and I haven't been able to see anyone because of this COVID. So like I don't see my friends in New York at all. I barely ever leave my house.
Now, it's very close.
Yeah, you're still living in like near the bridge?
No, I mean Hackensack.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, that's even closer to me now.
Right?
Yeah.
Not very far.
Interesting.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah, American. And I live like what? 12 hours behind. Unfortunately.
Yeah,
but it's been
but-
great. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
we're
like-
waiting for you in America, man. You got to come to America first and then to Japan, you know?
Yeah.
So, Fedor, why you can speak English? In your country, speaking English is very common. Just like
No, it's not. It's just like in Japan, you know. I believe that English is not an official language in Japan, right?
No.
Yeah. And why I can speak English, it all has to do with my co-host, Tarik Johnson. And I should say that since we met in China like 2.5 years ago, you know, I just devoted a part of my soul to that language, you know, to that American culture. And that's why I've been like interested a lot, and I still am, you know, and I want to learn even more, you know. I want to improve.
You learn English in China?
Yes. Exactly. That's the thing that I like about China. Actually, it offers you a possibility to just choose for yourself what you like, you know. Some foreigners, non-Chinese, speak Asian culture, you know, like Korean, Japanese, and they pursue this goal of learning Chinese. And some of us non-Chinese foreigners speak this Western path,
What
excuse
city?
me,
What city?
me, Hangzhou, It's near to Shanghai. Yeah, it's like
Okay.
150 kilometers from it. Yeah, so it's not that far.
Oh,
So it's like
I
the
see.
east side. It's close to Japan.
Uh-huh.
It's close to Japan.
And a lot
Yeah,
of there.
yeah. There are like many foreign people here.
Yeah, but
And
wait. Let's be clear. There are a lot of foreigners in that international school, like in the college campus. But
yeah.
in the whole city, I don't think so. I don't think there's that
College.
many.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I agree. It's just like my circumstances, my environment. I guess it's special, and I live in an international dorm on the campus, and that's why I can just hang out with like different.
In English rather than in Chinese.
Yeah. I barely speak Chinese here, unfortunately. That's the problem.
You speak Chinese very fluently.
I mean, the problem with it is just I have to push myself every time when I try to interact with a Chinese person. I have to really push my limit. Yo, Fedor, go and talk, please. Because their reaction, the way I talk, or just they get embarrassed if they can't answer my question. So it's just like a constant battle with myself. Like, should I talk to that person or I should leave him or her alone? So speaking Chinese to me, it's not something like, wow, I can speak Chinese. It's just like a necessity more. But when I speak English, I feel proud, I can express myself. I feel confident in my words, in myself. Yeah. So there's no like, prejudgments or I don't really care.
In the college, the teacher teach you English
Yeah. No, Chinese. But that's like a feature of Chinese education system. They don't require you to speak. There is no need. There is no test that a foreign student has to take in order to prove his spoken Chinese. Unlike in English, where there's like a TOEFL exam, and you have to take like writing, listening, all parts, and speaking as well. In Chinese, no. I barely get this chance to talk. Besides, like doing a presentation, or just talking, asking some questions to a professor.
Can
There's
you
no.
Can you listen Chinese perfectly?
Yeah. Yes. That's my strongest ability, I guess. And I can read and write as well. I can't. My speaking skills, they're like, falling behind. They're not as great as listening or reading. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the case with my Russian also. Like my speaking is really not good. I don't have confidence, but listening to it and reading it, I'm pretty good at that, I would say.
Wow, Tarik, how many languages you can handle? You can
right now, the only languages like I could still work in is Japanese and Russian. Chinese, barely. It's like I can understand basics. Korean, almost completely gone. Yeah. I never, I had, remember, Kim, I forgot his first name.
Oh, yeah, the boy, right?
Yeah.
He's a very close friends.
Yeah, he was my closest Korean friend, and then he just went back to Korea, and that was it.
That was too bad.
Yeah, I was so sad. I miss that guy. He was an interesting guy. Really.
Yeah, he was nice. He was nice. He told me his Korean culture by writing. You remember?
Yeah. He was a really
And the
funny guy.
kanji was very shocking kanji.
Yeah. He was such a funny guy, I miss him.
shocking and funny.
Yeah, interested. Shocking, Hanzi. Yeah, interested. Yeah, it's challenging, to write in perfect. You have to practice a lot every day, probably, in order to get this writing. I'm bad at handwriting though, even in English. It just
Like it?
I'm like writing. I'm illiterate. I made a lot of mistakes. I have to double check my spelling all the time.
But
And
English writing is really hard, and I can say that because Russian writing is also really hard. So I see those two languages as like kind of similar in that way.
It's probably Russian is probably even more harder because you got
for sure.
you guys don't have any punctuations. I mean, like you have some sort of but it's not like a comma there, parenthesis there, quote. Yeah, it's just like it's a lot of details. But I like English more. I feel proud that I can speak it. And like unlike Chinese, where it's like a more I feel embarrassed all the time that it's not just cool, but it's my experience, and probably because I've chosen this Western path, and primarily American, because that's where I was getting influenced the most from, so that's what my experience is all about.
So, Fedor, after graduated, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Graduate, interesting, first, if this podcast will go fine, can provide some sort of an income, and then I would stick by this path, of just talking to people, because that's my religion, that's my God right in there. And I would do this. I also would like to do a master program in China, but just to be able to stay in this country for 2 more years. Just I want to find some interesting more people from Africa. I have this access to like a lot of countries, a lot of people that can represent their country well. And I can bring them to the podcast, because that's what like my primarily interest in. Yeah, so that's two points, That's like podcast and master program in China. Yeah. So, and what about you? Are you planning to? Yeah.
Already, I have my career, and why are you asking?
I because you are still working, so you're not retired, right?
No, I can't.
So you can't retire.
I can't retire until
Why?
70-ish.
70. Wow.
Mortgage.
Yeah. So what are your do you have any plans for your retirement? How would you spend it? How would you spend that time?
I'm not have retirement dream. Because the fun or enjoyable moment comes through my work. Even though I'm on vacation, I get bored so easily on vacation. Even if I'm in Hawaii or onsen in Japan, and a lot of very delicious food. But I get bored. Like after maybe 1 month is good enough, and most a precious time comes through my work.
Wow.
So I want to keep my job until as long as I can healthy and work, and I want to work.
That's very interesting, because I have a friend of mine, professor. He's 50 now, works on 5G technologies at this university. He's Russian, and he also doesn't think about retirement. It feels like people in our time compare, let's say, to my grandpa, grandma, grandparents, they're like, they, as soon as they got this retirement to this retirement age, that was like 55 in Russia back in the day, and 50 for a woman, 55 for a man. They completely switch their lifestyle. Oh, now I'm retired. That's it. Life is over, you know. And they're like, so, but I feel that people right now, you know, I don't know, technology influence. I don't know. It's a phenomena to me, you know. You guys, you guys are more willing to work till the end, you know, like. So it's interesting. Where do you get this energy from besides work? You know, how do you maintain your mental physique? You know.
Well, of course, you need very good friends, and you can relieve all your, you know, feelings, and you have energy, like good hobbies or good exercise, or, you know, having good time with your friends or your family are very important to keep your
Yeah.
you know, a healthy mind. And also
Exactly.
you have a job or career, and some that you can express yourself, or you can pursue your, like a god in you, within you, you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah. Perfectly. I know exactly what you're talking about. But at the same time, I want to question this because, as we've seen that Japanese work culture is more like you have to like acquire this sixth sense, you know, in order to understand, you know, what your boss wants from you. You know, his demands, his.
Well, I'm in America, so it's not necessary. You don't have to use your sixth sense. You can ask, you know, this barber.
No. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But at the same time, we all know that work environment is very strict, and you have to spend a lot of time working. You know, and from my personal opinion, I think that creativity and this energy comes from anywhere. You know, like outside of your workplace. You know, you can't really get some insights, you know, some prolific and meaningful ideas in your head while you're working. And I'm not like, or you are overworking, you know. But as you just said, talking to friends, walking, sightseeing, something, doing something instead. But if we had this strict regulations, like, strict work culture, that it means that you would not have that many creativity in it. You know, it's just gonna, or rather life energy to be like, I've been working so hard, now I want to retire. You know, that's what I would expect from a regular Japanese worker
Oh,
working
you are
in
talking
Japan.
about Salaryman?
Yeah,
The employee of the company.
yeah,
Either they are very obedient to the company, to your boss, and that's how you can survive if you're a member of company or employee of company. But I'm self-employed. I can pick my clients. I can pick my, you know, choose my applicants, candidates, and whatever, you know.
yeah.
Anything I can choose. And if I don't like it, I don't have to go through it. And a lot of freedom.
A lot
And
of freedom, yeah.
right. So,
Yeah, I think that's important too in picking your career. I think a lot of, especially now, a lot of young people are realizing that they don't have to go in that path. Because, you know, even in America, we have a lot of people who go into companies and don't enjoy their work, you know, and they have to work really hard, you know, every day, and they feel a lot of stress. So it's not just Japan. I would say, though, that in Japan, there's pressure from the work, but there's also self pressure. I've heard that Japanese people put a lot of pressure on themselves to
Oh yeah,
uphold this, just
they are
like to
much
hold
on
this
themselves.
responsibility.
Right.
So I think you have to really think about, especially when you're young, what is the kind of work that fits you the best? Are you someone who really likes to just sit at a desk and, organize things? There are some people who can enjoy that. And then there are some people who like to be more free and have more free time and spend it doing different things. And they have challenges too, like it's not easy to make money just talking
Right.
to somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you choose freedom and you have to manage yourself financially, and if you're an employee of the company, then it's kind of guaranteed. The pay comes bi-weekly, or regular pay you can get, but there's no much freedom compared with self-employed or on your own. Yeah. Do you remember Tarik, Miko-chan?
Yeah, that's who I was trying to remember.
Miko-chan!
Yeah. How is she doing?
She's working for a Japanese company, like Kawasaki. It's a railroad.
Yeah. I
Wow.
think she told me the last time.
Yeah.
But she said her like division is mostly Americans, right?
Yeah. Right. So that's why sometimes she's very struggling with, different, like for her, Japanese culture is now a foreign culture,
Yeah.
And, some people famous.
She's great. I'd actually love to have her on the podcast too. She's so funny. She's so funny.
Oh yeah. Why don't you invite her?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you reminded me because I couldn't remember her name. I remember her, but I couldn't remember her name. But yeah, if you could connect us, that'd be
Yeah, just
cool.
a couple of days ago, we spoke on Skype or no Messenger, through Messenger. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of. All right. I'm so surprised actually. That was like the first time I ever spoken to a Japanese person in my life.
Oh
And it
yeah.
happened to be today. Yeah, that's right. You were like that first impression, of this culture, and I really like it. It feels like, wow, you guys are different. Yeah, different, and in some ways, I still have to test it, because I can't really say right now in what aspects, but I just need to have more exposure to Japanese culture, and from our, I would say, because we had a, I shouldn't even say that, but yeah, Japanese compared to Asian that we had before in the podcast, or like rather a practice talk. Yeah, you're the most enthusiastic one.
Oh
And
really?
yeah, and so amusing,
But
I really,
this it's not like Megumi-san represents all of Japanese people. She's unique, I would say, from my experience. That's why I wanted her on the podcast.
I'm not a typical Japanese.
No, not at all. Actually, you're very different for sure.
Oh yeah. It depends on, even though.
oh, interesting. So
Unique,
it,
and you are Russian, but you are unique too, right? Yeah.
Tarik Johnson, unique as hell, I really like. But thanks for your time, thanks for this conversation, and for a little Russian boy today, it was a revelation, I had to think through this all, like, wow, what was that, it's like, it feels like a Santa Claus that you picked randomly at the nighttime, but then he was gone and you try to think about, wow, man, he had a nice outfit, that shoes and this red like cloth, so it feels like a surprise more than just and thanks God, God of conversation that brought us, three of us, together today. And
Oh, so what you're saying is Megumi-san is Santa Claus. All right.
yeah, it's a Japanese Santa Claus,
How sweet.
Yeah, so
Well,
expect some presents by the end of this year in my socks, But all right.
yeah, Fedor, I really want you to go visit Japan, like a Tokyo or Osaka. You love it. You love it.
Yeah, Kyoto, for example. Yeah, I want to go there
Kyoto,
too.
you mean?
Kyoto,
Yeah,
Kyoto,
yeah.
and for
Yeah.
so nice, and yeah, you enjoy it.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I will go there someday. Yeah,
And
with Tarik probably.
yes, in the US too.
Yeah, that's my first destination,
Yeah, yeah.
I have
Oh,
to-
finally. Oh, we got it on recording this time. He said it. Everybody heard it. He said he's going to the US first. All right. No more. Oh, no, I'm going to where it was Lebanon before. Then it was Botswana. All these other countries.
Yeah. So thank you again.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tarik, your word. No words from Tarik.
Oh, no, of course. Thank you so much, Megumi-san. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Yeah, ありがとうございます. It was so fun to talk with you guys, and yeah, I was
So,
kind of
all right.
afraid, if I can speak English, but
You're
Well,
always so nervous about your English. Your English is really good. Really, really good. Like,
oh, thank you. But anyway, it was really, really enjoyed. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
Let's do that again.
yeah,
Soon.
sure. We're having guests all the time, so we'll definitely be in contact with you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
So
you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.